Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session, which marks the beginning of a Clean Air Day. It's 17th of June, and it's a Clean Air Day in the whole of the UK, with different areas coming up with different events and different actions to promote the idea that every single individual action can help with improving air quality in a certain locality. So Clean Air for Leamington Spa uh, has come up with a series of events for today. And my talk in the morning is just the beginning of what is promising to be an exciting day of activities, fun, and raising awareness of how important it is to look after ourselves, look after our health, look after our environment, and as part of it, air is the most important. Uh, it's the most important component. So thank you very much for joining me today, and we're going to talk about movement. So why would we talk about movement on this day? Why wouldn't we talk about climate change, or why wouldn't we talk about lobbying big corporations and trying to encourage them to lower their pollution of the environment? Why wouldn't we talk about big logistics companies which need to ensure that their vehicles are all compliant with the regulations we all aspire to? Why would we talk about uh, something as simple as movement, which potentially can bring only a small difference? Well, the first thing, of course, is that the more we move our bodies, as opposed to moving bodies with the help of the machinery, the more we move our bodies, the more we help the environment. Uh, the second thing is the more we move, the healthier we become, and the healthier we become, the less prone we are to the lifestyle diseases. And this will potentially open up all the energy and will save us time, which we can then dedicate to dealing with bigger issues, whatever issues we are concerned about, be it climate change, air pollution, uh, building a fairer society, or just becoming a more compassionate, kinder individuals for the benefit of all people around us. So I strongly believe that healthier people have just a bit more energy, just a bit more time to look at things beyond the issues they have to face in their everyday life. So why would movement help as well? Why is it important to talk about movement? Well, it's interesting that in the past 15, 16 years, quite a lot of research have been done about movement and exercise. And according to this research, regular movement is anti-inflammatory. It improves the quality of our microbiota, the microbiome in our guts. It also increases the volume of a hippocampus, sorry, and the functions the hippocampus supports, such as attention, focus, memory, all of these things which we normally associate with different things. For example, food. We always talk about a healthy gut, healthy stomach, in a way that what what shall we eat? What shall we put inside our bodies to ensure that our microbiome is healthy? But interestingly enough, food is not enough. Food is a crucial component, but it's not enough. And movement is what brings the whole system into working, into working paradigm, and into the space where healthier body is being born, and healthier body leads to healthier mind. Healthier mind is about not only about our mental capacity, memory, focus, attention, understanding of details, but it's also about our emotional health, about our psychological and spiritual health as well. So it's crucial to see that uh, simple movement is not about just gaining strength. It's not about growing your muscles to be able to pick up something heavy and carry it for a long distance. Muscles are, by some researchers, considered to be part of the endocrine system, and so they affect every other system in our body. They affect pituitary and adrenal gland. They reduce inflammation. They lower the levels of blood sugar. So it's absolutely exciting how much research is being done at the moment into movement, and how much it proves what we've known for generations, really, uh, that when we're active in big or small way, when we're active, we actually benefit from it. One research which I wanted to talk about in particular is about walking, which reverses functional aging in the brain. So, what is functional aging? We talk about aging quite a lot in the sense that it's growing up, right? So we're all born babies, then we will move into toddling, to become children, teenagers, and then we grow up, and slowly our bodies become a little bit weaker, a little bit slower, a little bit more wrinkles appear on our faces, and then we gradually age and die. Well, the latter is pretty much impossible to avoid. However, aging can be looked at not just from the perspective of the number of years you've lived, but from the perspective of what your body, what your mind is capable of. So the functional aging is sometimes considered to be even more crucial, more important than the actual numerical aging. And so, in one particular study, 72-year-old, a group of 72-year-olds, was encouraged to walk 3 times a week, 1.5 miles. Yeah, so, 3 times a week, just 1.5 miles of a leisurely, slow walk. These people, in a year's time, showed that their brain performs as the brain of a 60-year-old, 68-year-old, sorry. So in a year of a very relaxed and limited activity, I should say, it brushed off 4 years of their functional age. In the control group, people who weren't moving, who weren't walking 3 times a week, well, they aged, and so essentially their brain performed as the brain of a 73-year-old on average performs. So the gap between two groups of people at the age of 73 suddenly was five years, which is absolutely exciting. So to paraphrase a popular saying, one doesn't stop moving when one becomes old. One gets old when one stops moving. Uh, if you can observe, next time you're in the park and you have the picnic next to a young family with a toddler, just observe this little toddler for a bit. Notice what they're doing, unless they're asleep, of course. Notice what they're doing. Notice how much and how varied their movement is, and see what you might really learn from them. Because we've all been these toddlers. We might have forgotten what toddling was about, but we've all been there. We've all done right things in our babyhood, in our toddlerhood. But when we reached our adulthood, we suddenly become more restricted in what we do. We spend significantly less time moving around, flipping our hands up, changing position of our bodies, getting ourselves turning around, or bending, or flipping over all the time. My personal fascination with movement and what I would potentially call micro movements came after my cancer treatment 6 years ago. Uh, Once it's finished, once I had a month and a half of daily radiotherapy, I was completely exhausted. I was completely tired. It was expected. That's what doctors didn't hide from me. They said that's one of the side effects of the treatment, that you will be super tired. I felt like staying in bed for most of the day. And one of the nurses gave me advice that I really need to find a reason to get out of house. There's no point in saying, all right, okay, I'll have an hour's walk a day, because then you will not be able to actually understand how and why you're doing it. And so you will skip, and so your priorities might change. However, if you have a particular reason, no matter how small, you will most likely be able to follow it on. So for example, you could decide to cancel your newspaper subscription and start walking to this corner shop at the end of your road to pick up your daily paper in the morning. And that gives you purpose, and gives you an opportunity to get out of your bed and walk to the end of the street and back. Well, I'm not a newspaper reader, and so for me, this particular thing wouldn't work. And so I came up with a plan of going camping for 45 days in the middle of the winter around Europe. And that's what I did. You see, in the camper van, you have no choice but to move. It's a very confined, very small space, and mine was extremely small camper van, and you have to move around to put your bed up and to get into this bed, and then you have to change the situation inside your camper van, and fold your bed, and then put a table out, and then when you start cooking, you change the locations of things as well. You have to constantly move bags with your stuff around, boxes with food, and then so forth, and so on. So, of course, every day you have no choice but to just continue moving. And then, of course, when you're driving off, you have to pack everything properly, and it involves even more movement before you drive off. And so, 45 days, they got me back to not necessarily my usual level of energy, but they definitely helps me regain some of my energy, some of my strength. Uh, so when I came back and when I qualified as a life and health coach, I realized, and I started working with people, I realized it's how important it is to help people, to help them understand that micro movements on a regular basis uh, in a very varied form are crucial for our health. But when I encounter, when I see my clients, I quite often encounter the question of when can I do it? Sorry, Ignati, you know, I'm a super busy person. I have my family to look after. I have my work to do. My elderly parents are not so well, and I have to help them. My friends going through difficult period, and I have to go and support them. So there's very limited time for me to go and exercise. There's very limited time for me to go for an hour long jog around town. There's not much time for me to spare half a day going cycling in the countryside, and I absolutely get it. And it's crucial that we support people, that we're crucial we help people around us, uh, be they youngsters or elderly people, or indeed just our friends. And so that's what creates a more compassionate, kinder, and a more robust society. Uh, and that's why I talk about movement rather than exercise, because exercise, you see, is something. It's a very recent notion, and as such, it's been invented to fill the gap which lack of movement has created. When we stopped moving, when moving from hunter-gatherers ancestors to farmers, to pre-industrial revolution times, we were moving a lot. And when we sort of stopped, and we got into this sedentary life, which we are primarily guilty of in the West at the moment. And as such, exercise requires time. Yes, it requires time to sign up for a gym, so you have to earn money to be able to afford your gym membership, and then you have to actually figure out when will be this hour or when will be this hour and a half to go and do your cardio or do your classes. Whereas if it's movement, it can be incorporated into your everyday life, and so you will not notice how it will work because it's 20 seconds here, 2 minutes there, 1 minute doing something else, and that's all about disrupting our sedentary life, uh, where uh, where you just, in a sense, constantly aware of what your body is doing at every single moment, uh, where you don't lose yourself to an extent that you just don't notice that you've been sitting or lying down for 2 hours with no change of position. The following question will be the question of how to have fun when moving. You see, for a lot of people, uh, exercise is considered to be punishment. Oh, I've just had this piece of cake. It was so delicious, but I absolutely must go and have a run now. And I will probably have to have two more runs because this particular piece of cake was 450 calories. Oh, look at this note in my diary. I'm going to have a Sunday lunch with my family. Ooh, that will be massive. So I will absolutely need to ensure that I will exercise even more, and I'll push myself, and I'll probably punish myself for those indulgences. And this creates also stress. And talking about stress is beyond the scope of this talk, but we all know that stress it can cause all sorts of diseases, all sorts of conditions, and so if possible, we have to uh, avoid those stressful situations, and definitely we don't want to inflict them on ourselves. And so, movement as fun, movement as excitement, is the way to go forward. So when you next time put a nice tray which will have everything ready for your afternoon tea, with a nice cup and a nice teapot of your favorite tea, and you will have possibly a biscuit or some nuts and dry fruit there, and you will be proud of setting that up so nicely. And you take it to the sitting room, you sit down, you pour your uh, beautiful yellow brew into the cup. Oh, damn it, I forgot a teaspoon. You might think to yourself, or even say aloud, oh, the other way to do it. Oh, how fascinating! I've forgotten my teaspoon, which will mean that I will be able to get up from the sofa and get to my kitchen to fetch a teaspoon. And this will encourage more movement. Am I not wonderful that I managed to create this opportunity to move a little bit more before I enjoy this 4 o'clock cup of tea? Or you are drawing something and you're being slightly clumsy and you drop your pencil under your desk, and you could say, ah, bugger, and you reach for another pencil, or you could say, how fascinating, I can actually move a little bit more. I've been sitting here in front of my notepad and my computer for a bit too long, and I suppose it's great that I can do a bit of stretching and a bit of movement, and get my shoulders into a certain position, and then I can get under my desk, whether it will involve getting up from my chair and actually getting on my knees, or whether I can be flexible enough to bend from my chair to pick up this runaway pencil. But that's how fascinating, how wonderful that this opportunity presented itself for me to move a little bit more. Or you put a hazelnut into your mouth and it escapes and it gets onto the sofa. Again, a similar situation where you can say, thank God this hazelnut decided to get into the dust underneath my sofa. For once, I will be able to move a little bit more and get there, and probably I will even dust a little bit under my sofa, which will in improve the air quality in my house as well. So it's about change of mindset and noticing small things and noticing them as an opportunity, as an invitation, as an encouragement to move somewhat more. But punishment, which we feel when we think about exercise, is not exactly the same as making a life a little bit less comfortable. You see, comfort has been heavily promoted recently in a way that uh, that went probably beyond control, which we should say. You know, this cushioned soles which you put into your shoes, and they make your steps a little bit softer, and so they help you. Or this mattress which is super soft, and you lie on it, and it helps you to not notice any tension in your body, and you can fall asleep easier. Or you absolutely must to change this sofa of yours, because the new model is so comfy that you will sit in it, and you will forget about moving, because you will not need to do it whilst you're watching this 2 hour long blockbuster on television. Well, all of these things actually are promoting a counterproductive uh, uh, way of life, where by paying more and spending more time and energy and money on something which ultimately might impede with your healthier lifestyles. And so creating a little bit less comfort in your life is a way forward. One way is to get onto the floor level, spend a bit more time on the floor. Now, in our household, my wife and I decided to ditch our bed, and we sold it off and bought a futon. And so we now sleep on the floor on a futon, because that encourages us to move a little bit more first thing in the morning, last thing at night, well, and occasionally throughout the night as well. It also helps us move a little bit more when we need to make the bed, because obviously it involves so much more movement than when you're just putting it away on and cover it with with a rug. So all of these small things, they matter, but you don't have to go to the whole extent of ditching your bed. It requires a lot of time and negotiation with your spouse. What you can do is just to spend a little bit of time sitting on the floor when you're watching the same film. Get from your sofa, get on the floor, and you will be surprised that when you're on the floor, you will not be able to stay in the same position for long. You will be moving, you will be changing your body posture. You will be changing the way you position yourself, and that's all micro movement, and it's all extremely important for our health. You might want to invest in some yoga pillow cushions, or bolsters, or small futons to get this a little bit of padding, a little bit of comfort, but not an excess of it. Again, I would encourage you to observe what toddlers and babies do, who spend a lot of their time on the floor, and how it frees them, how it gives them an opportunity to explore, to try, to learn, to figure out how their bodies work, how the environment around them works. So learn from the young ones around you. Uh, It's also important what sort of furniture you have at home, and you might consider or reconsider the amount of furniture you have, and the use of your furniture. Again, as an example from my family, from our flat, we only have 6 chairs in total. Two of them serve as bedside tables, two of them in the study for when we actually need to have meetings with our clients, and two in the dining area. All of this can be brought together when we have guests, but having just these few chairs encourages us to find other ways to sit or lie down, or position our bodies in situations when we don't have to be sitting on a chair like I'm doing at the moment. Can you possibly change to find a way to stand up and while once you work? For example, you're working on some routine, boring administrative tasks on your computer. Can this computer go up on the bookshelf or on top of a worktop in your kitchen so that you stand up and you work standing rather than being constantly sitting? And when you're sitting, can you sometimes just give it a bit of a stretch and turn another way and spread your shoulders and ensure that your posture is right? Can you circle your feet? Can you play with your toes to encourage them to work? That the toes are absolutely amazing parts of our body, so crucial for maintaining our balance, and yet we don't really think about them as individual beings, 10 of them. So can you just spend a bit of time, even if you're sitting still and you are attending a conference call or you're listening to a webinar like mine, and just spread your toes and just move them a little bit, and maybe you can just sneak a little bit of self massage as well. But essentially, every single movement, every single change, change in your positioning, it will all help. And outside of the house, can you can you find ways to move a little bit more there? I know that our environment is not created, is not conducive to moving. I mean, let's assume that in taller buildings, to get to the stairs, you will sometimes need to open uh, three sets of fire doors, and yet your lift will be there straight in front of you open. But can you actually make this a little bit of effort and opening this heavy fire doors and taking these stairs up to get this movement? Can you maybe get off your bus one stop before your destination and walk this one stop? Can you possibly invest in a good shopping trolley and a proper robust bags so that you can carry your shopping for some time to get this strength into your arms and into your shoulders and your core and chest? So, what are these small things outside the house that you can do? Can you go into the park and when the weather permitting, can you sit on the grass rather than on the bench? Again, small things will help. And of course, the simplest way to interpret exercise is just to walk. Walk is so simple. Walk is free. Walk is meditative, and walk is an absolutely uh, uh, undervalued way of incorporating movement. There was one study where participants were asked, "How do you feel now?" On the scale of from 1 to 5, how do you feel now? Two-ish. And the second question was, well, how would you feel after a 40-minute walk? Oh, can't be bothered, probably two-ish as well. And then they were encouraged, the participants were encouraged to go for a 40-minute walk. And then they were asked again, so how do you feel now? Oh, wow, I feel 4 on the scale up to 1 to 5. I feel 4. So it's surprising that we don't really notice these benefits until we've actually received them. And it's so easy to forget about all these benefits of real life. So the final thing is to think about a bigger picture and about potential investments which you might want to make. Can you invest in a bike, be it a second-hand bike from a charity shop or eBay, or can it be something fancy if you feel like it, and start moving? Because if every single one of us gets a bit more cycling and walking into our life, suddenly our roads will become more free and less traffic will be there. So it will be more pleasant for every single user of this road, be it a cyclist, a walker, pedestrian, or a driver. Uh, there's surprising statistics very recently from Great Manchester, where 200 250 million car journeys a year. 250 million car journeys a year are less than 1 kilometer. In Warwickshire, this situation is slightly better, but we are not as big as Greater Manchester. And here we estimate that around 25% of our car journeys are about a mile long. But again, a mile or a kilometer for the vast majority of people is an absolutely joyful and wonderful way to spend time and then to walk or to cycle to our destination, incorporating this very much needed movement, the movement which will help our bodies function properly, uh, and give us this boost of energy, will create this anti-inflammatory effect in our bodies. And so uh, let me see through my slides so that I remember what I might have forgotten to do, to talk about. So yes, today we talked about movement, and it's the first part of a system which I normally apply and which I normally talk about when I see my clients, which is a moving, what we eat, what we apply to our skin, the skin being the biggest organ of our body. So what can we apply on our skin? Love, self-love, self-appreciation, and time we spend with ourselves, and of course sleep, which is a multiplier. With whatever actions we take, moving, eating, applying, and loving, sleep will double the benefits of whatever we've created. So we talked today, we've talked about a movement specifically. And my inspiration, as I told you, comes from toddlers, from babies. This is my daughter, Olivia, who is constantly on the move, unless she's asleep or unless she's eating. She just is such a fascinating example of what all of us should really be doing. And we talked about why is it important to move, why is it important to talk about it on the clean air day as today, uh, why do we need to move, and when can we find time or to move, and actually whether we should be finding time to move or we should be just moving, and how to incorporate this movement into our life, where to do it, at home or outside, and where at home, uh, where can you move on the chair, on the floor, on bed, or on the bed which you decided to ditch, and what sort of things you can do. So try to get it to make it part of your everyday life, make it regular, and absolutely varied to keep it fun. So my favorite thing is reading on the floor, which I do every day. I love reading books, and there's absolute pleasure of changing a position quite frequently. Once you are in the book, it gets you into this sort of action inside the book when you move your body as well. It's an absolutely different way of consuming your reading. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for listening to me today. Do get in touch if you have any particular questions, if you want to discuss your particular situation, and do get in touch with Clean Air for Leamington Spa, because we are all volunteers there, and we are happy to talk to people and get even more public engagement. Do look. To look for us today in the town center, handing out flyers about importance of switching off your engines once your cars are stationary if you're driving. At 3 o'clock, there will be a bike ride starting from the Pump Room Gardens and heading to Warwick and then back. And from 10 to 6 o'clock, we will have a stall near Morrison's in South Leamington, where we will be promoting the idea of anti-idling and engaging in conversation with people to see what sort of individual actions each and every one of us can do to make air in Leamington Spa just a little bit healthier. And finally, at 7 o'clock, there will be another talk by Adam Trunter, the cycling mayor of Coventry, who will be talking about cycling facilities in Warwickshire. So thank you very much for being with us today, and off you go to move. Move on.